In the growing industrial cities of Victorian Britain, millions of families lived in cramped conditions, often sharing single rooms. A whole household, parents, children, sometimes grandparents too, might share one damp chamber, its air thick with soot and mildew. In the back-to-back terraces of Manchester, Birmingham or Leeds, privacy was a luxury unknown. Reports from the time indicate that more than a third of working-class dwellings consisted of just one room, and that in some districts, entire streets of them stretched for blocks. For countless children, the world began and ended inside four crumbling walls. Compare that with now, when even the smallest apartment holds separate rooms, a bathroom, and a bed of your own. The difference is almost beyond imagining. But then, imagine life in that room. Wallpaper curls downward in soggy strips. Rats scurry in the corners. Water seeps in through cracked mortar. Here, where smoke from hundreds of factory chimneys settles into every crevice, illness breeds. Infant mortality in these districts was staggering. Letters and health reports speak of children who never survived past 5, their bodies too fragile to resist the soot they breathed from their first breath. For the poor, suffering was not an exception. It was the texture of daily life. If you enjoy these stories, a like or a subscription means more than you think. It directly supports the channel and keeps these long journeys alive. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you listening from? And what time is it there right now? Now settle deeper into your blankets. Let your breath slow, and together we'll slip into the journey. You wake in darkness. In a narrow back-to-back house in Manchester, the coarse blanket scratches your neck, heavy with another's sweat. A shoulder presses into your ribs. Another body shifts near your feet. There is no room to turn. The air is warm with breath, yet carries the chill of damp stone. You pull in a slow inhale through your mouth, because the smell is sour, mildew, soot, the tang of unwashed clothes. Outside, though you cannot see it yet, chimneys crowd the skyline, their smoke already drifting over the city. Even here, before the day begins, the mills make themselves known in the thickness of the air. The ceiling above is stained with brown streaks where rain leaks through tiles. In the corner a bucket waits to catch drips, but the sound of water still plinks onto the floor. Your arm lies against a sibling's leg, your toes pressed to a cousin's back. This is not unusual. Lodging house surveys described 8 or 10 people sharing a single bed, bodies stacked for lack of space, pressed together in ways both comforting and suffocating. Here, warmth is communal, and sleep is a patchwork of interruptions. A cough rattles close. Then another. Soon the whole room joins in, a tired chorus echoing off plaster. Somewhere a baby whimpers, muffled quickly by its mother's hand. No one wants to wake the entire household. You draw your knees closer, curling tight to keep what little heat remains beneath the blanket. The draft sneaks through anyway. The single window is wedged open by habit, even in December. Doctors of the day believed that fresh air prevented suffocation and cholera, so families left cracks for circulation. All it does tonight is bring a creeping fog that settles cold across your chest. Outside, life never fully stills. Through the cracked glass comes the sound of cartwheels striking cobbles, the soft clop of hooves, the bark of a hawker setting out too early. You imagine the street, a narrow alley already littered with refuse, a heap of ashes spilling from a yard, the night soil man making his rounds with buckets no one wishes to see. The stench seeps in, mingling with smoke from last night's fire. The city breathes heavy, and so must you. Your body aches from the hard mattress. You shift, but every move bumps against another sleeper. Your sister mutters in her dream. A brother kicks without waking. The straw crinkles beneath you, sharp ends poking at your back. You remember how your mother stitched the ticking last month, patching holes again and again. But nothing holds the stuffing in forever. Each night, the prick of straw is part of the bed, as much a certainty as the squeal of rats in the walls. Above you, faint steps creak from the lodging's upper floor. More families sleep there, each room packed the same. A man coughs violently, a deep hacking that suggests consumption. You've heard of neighbours vanishing overnight, their bedding burned by order of the inspector. Yet just as often nothing is done, and the sick keep lying shoulder to shoulder with the healthy until fever claims them both. From the hallway comes another sound, the scrape of boots on worn stairs. Someone late to find a bed? In the cheapest doss houses of London or Manchester, men could pay a penny simply to lean on a rope strung across the room, sleeping half-sitting until morning. Tonight you are lucky to have even straw under you, though luck is a fragile word here. Minutes stretch. Time here does not tick in silence, but moves with human sounds, coughs, sighs, restless turning. The drip of water from the roof. You measure the night by these rhythms. Your eyelids close, but only for moments. Sleep comes in fragments, snatched and fragile, always chased away by noise or cold. This is the rhythm of ordinary nights in Victorian Britain. Not peaceful slumber, but endurance. At last, faint light begins to seep through the cracks in the shutters. It carries no warmth, only a grey dimness that softens shapes without banishing the gloom. You sense the others stirring. A child rubs their eyes with tiny fists. Someone pulls the blanket tighter. The room smells heavier now. Morning breath, damp wool, and the lingering smoke from yesterday's fire that never burned clean. The day has begun. And soon the bell will strike. The light is thin, barely more than a mist seeping through the shutters. When you feel the shift of bodies around you, someone groans. A child whines with hunger. Another coughs. A deep rattle that shakes the mattress. The day has begun, though it does not feel like morning so much as a continuation of the night, just colder, sharper. You slide carefully from the tangle of limbs, your bare feet meeting the rough boards. The wood is icy, damp, with a sheen of moisture drawn up from the ground below. Each step creaks and protests, a sound that wakes those not already stirring. Your breath fogs in the dim light as you move toward the corner where the washstand waits. There it is, a cracked porcelain basin resting inside a warped wooden frame, next to a jug that holds the night's water. The jug is not full, water must be hauled, and coal for boiling is too dear to waste. What you have is what was saved from yesterday, its surface already skinned with a fragile layer of ice. You set your hand on the jug and feel the sting in your palm, as if the chill itself has teeth. You tip the water into the basin, the thin sheet of ice breaking with a hollow crack. The sound wakes a child who begins to cry. The baby's mother hushes them quickly, but the room is awake now. You dip the flannel into the freezing water. It stiffens, rough like sandpaper against your hand. This is what you must use to wash. Victorian manuals insisted on cleanliness, though for families like yours, the advice came with a cruel irony. Soap cost money, coal to warm water cost even more, and yet respectability itself seemed to hang on whether you were considered clean. Employers judged it, neighbours whispered about it. A dirty face might cost you work. The body could suffer hunger, but the appearance had to hold the illusion of order. You press the wet flannel to your face. The shock makes you gasp. The cold bites into your skin, tracing its way down your neck. You wipe quickly, rubbing hard to chase away the grime, though the water leaves you trembling. There is no luxury of a bath, no steaming tub to sink into. For most of the working poor, bathing meant this: a basin, a flannel, and the courage to endure. Your mother used to call it a standing wash. She would remind you to scrub the visible parts, face, neck. If there was soap, you used it sparingly, working up a thin lather that always smelled faintly of animal fat. But many mornings there was no soap at all. Letters from reformers described children with a dirt line at the neck, the place where yesterday's scrubbing ended, a line of poverty more permanent than ink. You pass the flannel to your sister, who takes it without complaint. She dips it, squeezes the icy water, and rubs her face until it reddens. The others queue silently, each one bracing themselves for the same jolt of cold. In families like yours, one jug of water must serve many. By the time the youngest takes their turn, the basin is cloudy, the water grey with yesterday's dust, and this morning's sweat. Still, it must do. You rub your hands together briskly, chasing circulation. Your fingers ache from the cold. You run the flannel down your arms, across your chest, as far as you dare with others watching. Privacy is impossible. Washing is a shared ritual, stripped of modesty by necessity. You think briefly of the wealthy, who command servants to haul hot water in steaming pails, who soak in copper tubs scented with herbs. The thought fades quickly. It is too distant to imagine. Behind you, the fire is coaxed back to life. A few sticks of wood, maybe a lump of coal if the budget allows, glow faintly, smoke curling into the room before the chimney catches. The warmth does not reach you here. You dry your face on the edge of the blanket, its coarse wool scraping your skin. Then you bend to rinse your mouth with a splash from the basin. The water tastes of iron, drawn from old pipes that leak rust into every jug. It makes you wince, but it clears the sourness of the night from your tongue. A cough erupts again, louder, closer. The man upstairs perhaps, or one of the children. Tuberculosis is everywhere, whispered of as consumption. The sound clings to you, a reminder that cleanliness does not mean safety. Even the most devoted washing cannot banish the invisible clouds of soot, the dust of cotton that drifts from the mills. Every breath carries risk. The flannel returns to you. You fold it neatly, wringing out the icy water. Your fingers sting from the effort. Knuckles raw. The basin now holds a shallow pool clouded with grey. You tip it carefully out the window, watching as the water splashes into the narrow alley below, where refuse already lies in heaps. Someone shouts a curse from the street, but you close the shutter quickly. For a moment you stand still, damp skin tingling. The cold has worked its way into your bones, but there is also a strange sharpness to it, a wakefulness. You draw in a long breath. The day ahead will demand everything: strength, patience, endurance. The wash is harsh, but it is a ritual of survival, a way to scrape off the night and face the hours to come. Your mother hands you a scrap of soap, rubbed down to a sliver. She presses it into your palm like treasure. "Make it last," she whispers. You nod. Every penny saved matters. There will be no more soap until next week's wages, and wages are never guaranteed. You pocket the sliver carefully. Even its faint smell of tallow clings to your fingers, a ghost of cleanliness in a world steeped in dirt. The basin is empty now, set back in its stand. The jug remains, a little water sloshing at the bottom. It must serve for tea later, boiled and stretched thin. You glance again at the shutters. Light is stronger now, grey-yellow, catching in the dust that hangs in the air. Soon the bell will sound, and you will be drawn into the streets, into the clangor of the factory. But for now your skin is cold, your eyes wide awake, your body braced for the long day. You reach for your clothes. They hang from pegs on the wall, layers worn thin by years of use. Each piece tells its own story: patched elbows, restitched seams, fabric faded by countless washes. They wait for you like armor, to shield you against the wind, against hunger, against the world itself. One layer at a time, you will build your defense, but that comes next. For now, you stand by the basin, flannel in hand, breath rising like smoke in the frozen morning air. The flannel drips in your hand as you turn to the wall where your clothes hang. Damp air clings to them, never thoroughly drying overnight. They are stiff in places, creased where the cloth froze into shape. You reach for the shirt first, a thin cotton one, patched across the chest where fabric wore through last winter. The stitches are uneven, your mother's hands trembling from cold as she mended by candlelight. You pull the shirt over your head. The cotton rasps across your shoulders, rougher than anything new. The collar gapes. Buttons are mismatched, salvaged from other garments. You smooth the fabric down, but it never lies flat. Still, it is the first layer, and that matters. Next comes the waistcoat. Though in your house it is little more than a scrap of wool, sleeves cut away years ago, The colour has faded to a brownish grey. It does not match anything else, but matching is a dream for another class. Warmth, not beauty, is what matters here. You tug it close, fastening the one button that remains. The trousers wait folded on a chair. They are too long, hems frayed, and you cuff them roughly above your ankles. They once belonged to someone larger, perhaps a cousin, perhaps a stranger. Clothes pass from body to body until they are rags. Reformers wrote of families who purchased garments second-hand until the cloth could no longer hold a stitch. This pair is on that edge. You pull them on anyway, the wool scratchy, knees already thin. Layer 3 is the jumper. Heavy wool, dappled with patches in different colours. Each patch is a reminder of nights by the fire, your mother's needle pulling through thick cloth. The jumper smells faintly of smoke, never fully cleansed by washing. It is bulky, and as you slip it over your head, the sleeves twist, seams pulling at your elbows, but the warmth it brings is immediate. Your boots wait by the hearth. They are heavy, cracked with years of wear. The soles flap if you walk too quickly, so you tie twine around them to hold them steady. Inside, scraps of newspaper serve as lining, insulation against the cold of the streets. Some nights the paper ink leaves black smudges across your socks. You shrug. It is better than frostbite. You think of what the wealthy wear. Silk petticoats, starched collars, corsets laced tight until waists curve like wasp bodies. You have seen them in the shop windows. Mannequins dressed in clothes you will never touch. In photographs too, always carefully posed, starched and gleaming. But the truer images, you know, are the prison mugshots you once glimpsed in a reformer's pamphlet. Men and women caught at their lowest, their clothes mismatched, sleeves dangling, trousers too short. Those photographs told the truth, and the truth looked a lot like your own mirror. Your sister is dressing beside you. She pulls on layer after layer, a chamiso first, then a flannel petticoat, then another skirt patched with bits of checkered cloth. She winds a shawl around her shoulders, knotting it tight. Her boots are thinner than yours, soles already split, but she pushes scraps of wool inside to keep her toes from freezing. The two of you glance at each other, and though no words pass, you share the same thought: will these layers be enough today? For the poor, 5 layers are not unusual. Some wear more if they can find them, building a barrier between skin and air. Yet even this armour is fragile. Rain soaks through in minutes. Wind cuts past the seams. By evening you will feel the damp pressing against your chest, cold stiffening the wool into heavy weight. But you dress anyway, because to go without is to risk sickness. And sickness is an enemy you cannot afford. The fire spits as someone adds a lump of coal. Heat rises briefly, and you turn your back to it, holding your arms out as though to capture the warmth. The wool softens a little, threads loosening with heat, but already the coal is nearly gone, and the flame will falter soon. You button your jacket, thin though it is, and step away. There is talk in the street of inspectors who look for cleanliness in dress. Employers judge by appearance. A face freshly washed, clothes free of visible rips. These can mean the difference between work and rejection. So you brush your sleeves, smoothing the patches, trying to appear tidy. The illusion of order must hold, even if beneath it lies hunger and cold. Your mother hands you a scarf. It is frayed at the ends, the wool unravelling into loose strands. You wrap it around your neck, tucking the ends into your jumper. The scarf holds the faint smell of her hands, soap and smoke together. You clutch it tighter, a small comfort against the morning air. The children are still dressing. One pulls on trousers with a patch shaped like a crooked star. Another ties a ribbon at her hair, though the ribbon is dull with age. Each child builds their armour in silence, layers stacked until movement itself feels heavy. The youngest struggles with buttons, fingers clumsy, and you kneel to help. The button slips through the hole, cloth puckering, but it holds. Your boots thump as you stand. The weight of your layers presses down, but you know it is necessary. The streets outside will be colder still. Wind slicing between narrow alleys, soot falling like black snow. You take one last glance at the basin in the corner, water glazed with ice. Soon it will freeze solid. You are glad you washed early, though the sting still lingers in your skin. The door creaks as you push it open. A blast of cold sweeps in, carrying the smell of smoke, manure, and damp stone. Your layers shield you, but only just. You step into the stairwell where plaster crumbles from the walls and rats scuttle between floorboards. The stairs groan beneath your weight, each step worn hollow by years of feet. At the landing, a neighbour coughs, her shawl pulled tight, her baby swaddled in rags. She nods as you pass. You nod back. Words are not needed, the look is enough. Outside, the sky is pale grey, chimneys already spilling smoke. You tighten your scarf and pull your jumper closer. 5 layers, and still the cold seeps through. You wonder briefly if anyone, anywhere, is ever truly warm. The cold follows you back inside, where the air is already heavy with morning sounds. Stomachs rumble, feet scuffle across the boards. In the corner, your mother bends over the hearth, coaxing what little fire remains from last night's coals. Smoke curls into the room before the chimney draws it upward, leaving a sharp tang that makes your eyes sting. Breakfast is not ready, because breakfast most mornings is hardly more than an idea. On the table sits a loaf of bread, yesterday's purchase, already going stale. The crust is hard, flaking into crumbs that scatter across the wood. She slices it with a dull knife, the blade soaring against resistance. Each piece is thin, carved to stretch the loaf as far as possible. You watch the slices pile slowly, too few for the number of hands waiting. Sometimes there are potatoes instead, boiled in their skins, steaming faintly. They are hearty if plain. In some houses they are cooked in milk, thought to strengthen children. But milk costs dearly, and often the jug on your table is empty. Today there are no potatoes, only bread. Your father stirs, his boots dragging against the floor as he rises. He rubs his hands together, stiff with cold, then reaches for the bread. He does not take the first slice. He waits, hunger gnaws, but he knows the children must eat before the mill takes them. You feel the same. The ache in your belly is sharp, but you hold back. At last a slice is placed in your hand. It is dry, edges rough, and you chew slowly, willing it to last. The taste is sour, bread made quickly with cheap flour, milled from whatever grain could be bought cheapest. Reformers wrote of loaves stretched with alum and chalk, whitened artificially to look like finer flour. Whether this piece holds such tricks you cannot tell. All you know is that it fills your mouth, but not your stomach. Beside the bread, a teapot waits. Its spout is chipped, handle cracked. The liquid inside is weak, more water than tea, brewed from leaves already steeped once before. Still, the smell is faintly comforting, bitter and sharp, a reminder of better times. You pour carefully into a chipped mug, steam rising faintly. The warmth against your hands is more precious than the taste. You sip. The liquid is thin, almost flavourless, but it slides down your throat and clears the night's dryness. Tea is no luxury here. It is survival. Workers cling to it for the strength it seems to give, even when its body is little more than boiled leaves used twice over. The wealthy sip, delicate blends from China, perfumed and rich, but for you the dregs are enough. A child whines, clutching at their belly. Your mother breaks her own slice in half, placing the piece into the child's hand. Hunger is a companion everyone knows, but mothers carry it differently. She swallows hard, takes a sip of tea instead of bread, and smiles faintly, though her eyes betray her. Sometimes breakfast is porridge, oats boiled into a thick grey mass, salted heavily to stretch the flavour. In the north, families live on it, ladle after ladle scooped into bowls. Oats are filling, and some claim they give strength against the damp. But today there are no oats, no milk, only bread and tea. The baby cries again. Your sister hushes them, rocking gently. Her own slice of bread lies untouched on the table, saved for later, or perhaps for the baby when the crying grows too sharp. You watch her lips pressed tight, hunger gnawing, but sacrifice stronger. A neighbor knocks at the door, stepping inside with a nod. He carries a tin mug filled with something steaming pea soup from a hawker down the street. It smells earthy, thick, almost rich compared to your table. He sets it down, explains that it was cheaper by the ladleful. If you brought your own tin, you glance at the mug. There is no meat in it, only peas, but the steam is tempting. Breakfast blends with memory. You think of feasts you've only heard of, meals served in houses with more than one room, eggs, bacon, sausages, butter spread thick on bread. You picture silver knives cutting through soft yolk, plates steaming in warm kitchens. Then you blink, and the vision fades. Your hand still holds a crust of stale bread. Your mug still holds thin tea. The clock ticks on the wall, an heirloom perhaps, or a loan. Its hands crawl past 6. The factory bell will sound soon. You chew faster, forcing the bread down, the crust cutting the roof of your mouth. Hunger demands speed, but duty demands departure. You rise from the table. The slice is gone, the tea nearly drained. Your stomach still aches, but the taste lingers bitter and dry. You wipe crumbs from your lap, brush dust from your patched trousers. Beside you, your sister gathers the younger children, straightening shawls and smoothing skirts. Everyone is dressed, everyone is ready, or at least prepared enough to leave. Your mother clears the table, sweeping crumbs into her hand, saving them for later. Nothing is wasted. She places the crusts into a small tin to be crumbled into broth tonight, if broth can be made. You glance once more at the empty breadboard, then pull your scarf tighter. The fire in the grate sputters, nearly gone. Coal is scarce, wood scarcer still. The warmth it gave will not last. You feel the chill creeping back already, slipping beneath your layers, biting at your chest. You glance at the door. Outside, the day waits. Breakfast ends as quickly as it began. Thin slices, weaker tea, the ritual of survival disguised as a meal. You gather your things, your cap, your scarf, your bundle of tools if you need them. The bell will call you soon. Hunger will follow you there, into the mill, into the noise and dust. You stand, boots heavy on the floorboards, scarf scratchy against your neck. The bread is gone, the tea drained, the day stretches long ahead, and you are not full, but you are ready. Ready because you must be. The door creaks as it opens. Cold air sweeps in, sharper now, and the smell of soot rides with it. You glance back at the table one last time. Empty crumbs scattered like dust. Then you step outside. The street greets you with grey light. Smoke spilling from chimneys, voices already rising. The city is awake, and you are part of its rhythm. Bread and tea, crust and dregs, that is enough to carry you into the day. If you enjoy these stories, a like or a subscription means more than you think. It directly supports the channel and keeps these long journeys alive. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you listening from? And what time is it there right now? The door closes behind you with a hollow thud, and the world outside rushes in. The air bites instantly, sharper than inside, carrying with it the dense weight of smoke. You draw your scarf tighter, but soot still settles on your lips, leaving a bitter taste. The street stretches ahead, narrow and crowded, walls of brick pressing in on either side. Cobbles glisten with damp, overnight rain mixed with ash, forming a slick that clings to boots. You step carefully, but still the water seeps through the cracks in your soles. Twine does little to hold back the wet. Already your socks are cold, heavy with moisture. The smell is overwhelming. Coal smoke, horse manure, and the sharp tang of refuse thrown into gutters. Chamber pots were emptied at dawn, their contents now streaming in rivulets toward drains that do not drain. You sidestep a puddle, but another splashes against your trousers. There is no avoiding it. This is the scent of the city, an odour that clings to skin, to clothes, to memory itself. Voices fill the air. Hawkers cry their wares, bread, herrings, hot pies balanced in tin trays. A woman shouts of matches for sale, her children tugging at her skirts. Newsboys wave papers, calling headlines of disasters far away. The words blur into one another, a chorus of survival. Everyone sells something. Everyone buys what little they can. You pass a line of houses, each one a mirror of the next. Windows are broken, stuffed with rags, doors hang crooked, wood rotting at the base, laundry sags on lines strung across the alley, shirts and stockings dripping with last night's rain. You imagine the damp smell they will carry when worn again. Privacy is a myth here. Every life is displayed in the street. Children run barefoot past you, their feet black with soot. They weave between carts, chasing a hoop made from bent iron. Their laughter cuts briefly through the noise, a sound of joy in a place that rarely allows it. Yet even as they play, their faces are pale, cheeks hollow. Play is survival too. A cart rattles by, wheels clattering on stone. It carries coal, piled high and black, dust spilling into the air with each jolt. You cough, throat stinging. The driver snaps his whip, urging the horse onward. The animal strains, hooves slipping on wet stone, breath steaming in clouds. Its ribs show through thin hide, a beast as worn as the people around it. Above, chimneys belch smoke into the sky, hundreds of them stacked close together, their fumes blending into a single grey sheet. The sun is a faint disk behind it, barely breaking through. Reformers called it a pea souper, a fog thickened with soot that turned day into dusk. You taste it with each breath, grit catching between your teeth. The noise grows as you near the main road. Factory bells clang deep and relentless, their iron throats summoning bodies from every alley. The sound vibrates through your chest, a reminder that time itself belongs to the mill. Men, women, and children stream from doorways, all moving in the same direction, their boots drumming in rhythm. You join them, swallowed by the tide. Along the way, you glimpse the wealthy. A carriage rolls past, wheels spraying mud onto the crowd. Inside, behind glass, sits a woman draped in furs, her hat crowned with feathers. She does not meet your eyes. Her world is sealed behind polished wood and brass. The contrast stings. You brush mud from your sleeve, knowing it will not come clean. At the corner, a shop displays its goods. Fresh bread, golden and soft, rests behind glass. You stare for a moment, hunger rising again despite breakfast. Your own slice was dry. Hard these loaves look rich, steaming faintly. A clerk in a white apron eyes you, then turns away, busy with paying customers. You move on quickly, the sight a reminder of distance. The street narrows again, funneling the crowd toward the factory gates. Here the air thickens with cotton dust, drifting like pale snow from open windows. It settles on hair, on clothes, on skin. Already your throat itches, lungs bracing for the day ahead. You swallow hard, but the taste lingers. Beside you, a boy no older than 8 trudges along, his cap too large, trousers held by string. He carries a small tin pail, his lunch for the day, perhaps bread, perhaps nothing. His eyes are heavy, steps dragging, but he walks on. Around him march others just as young, children swallowed by the stream. Their small bodies seem fragile against the looming walls of brick. A shout rises behind you. 2 men argue, voices sharp, fists clenched. One accuses the other of stealing coal. Their fight lasts only seconds before others pull them apart, muttering about the bell. Work waits and quarrels must wait too. Yet the anger hangs in the air, another thread in the fabric of the street. The road bends and the factory comes into view. Tall windows glare down, black with soot. The gates stand open, iron jaws ready to swallow. Smoke pours from chimneys that rise like spires, darker than the sky itself. The bell clangs again, louder now, echoing off stone. You pause for a moment, scarf pulled tight, lungs already bracing for the dust within. Around you the crowd thickens, bodies pressing shoulder to shoulder, boots pounding in rhythm. The street is alive with soot, with noise, with hunger, and hope woven together. This is the artery of the city, pulsing with life that never slows. You step forward, one among thousands, the noise of the street folding around you like a cloak. The gates loom closer. The day has begun, and there is no turning back. The bell strikes again, louder, harsher, as if iron itself has a voice. Its clang cuts through every thought, echoing down the narrow streets. You feel it in your ribs as much as in your ears. The crowd surges forward, a tide of boots and shawls, scarves pulled high against the soot. The gates stand open, wide enough for dozens to pass at once, yet the press of bodies makes it feel narrow, a funnel swallowing you whole. The factory looms ahead, a fortress of brick and glass. Its walls rise higher than most churches, windows tall and grimy, chimneys stretching into the pale sky. From within comes a hum, already machinery beginning to stir, belts turning, gears grinding. The sound grows as you approach, until it is no longer sound but a vibration in the air, a steady thrum that matches the pulse in your veins. You glance up at the clock fixed above the entrance. Its hands crawl towards 7. To be late is unthinkable. Wages docked, overseers furious. Sometimes doors lock to punish stragglers. Even a minute lost can mean hunger at the table. So you press on, shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of others, each step hurried, each breath clouding in the cold. The yard inside the gates is a sea of bodies. Men in caps, women in shawls, children clutching their little tin pails. Their voices mix in low murmurs, some joking, some silent, many yawning. You smell coal smoke, sweat, the faint tang of oil already drifting from the machines. Overhead, pigeons scatter from the roof, startled by the clang of the bell. An overseer stands at the door, eyes sharp, noting latecomers. His coat is finer than most, his boots polished, his pocket watch glinting. He does not speak, but his stare carries weight. Workers avoid his gaze, hurrying past into the darkness beyond. You follow, your boots thumping on the stone threshold, the noise of the street swallowed behind you. Inside, the change is immediate. The air is warmer, but not with comfort. It is heavy, thick, with the smell of oil and damp cotton. The windows are filmed with dust, light filtering through in dull shafts that illuminate floating motes. You cough, throat scratching. Already your lungs resist, though the day has barely begun. The room stretches vast, rows of looms and frames standing silent but ready. Each machine is a beast of iron and wood, belts poised to whip into motion, shuttles waiting to fly. The floor is scarred from years of vibration, boards worn smooth where thousands of feet have stood. Above, shafts connect to great wheels, their teeth sharp, their weight menacing. Soon they will turn, and the world will shrink to noise. You move toward your station. It is marked not by name but by habit. The loom you always tend, the space worn by your boots, the stool with one leg shorter than the rest. Beside you, others settle into place, unwrapping scarves, hanging coats, tying hair back. A child climbs onto a stool, their head barely reaching the top of the loom. No one questions it. Children belong here as much as adults. The overseer paces the aisle, watch in hand. His boots click sharply, each step deliberate. He glances at the clock again, then at the rows of faces staring back. The bell clangs once more, echoing through the rafters. Work begins. With a jerk, the main wheel turns. Belts snap taut, spinning faster, faster, until the machines lurch to life. The first loom shudders, its shuttle darting with a crack like musket fire. Then another joins, then another, until the hall is alive with noise. The sound is deafening. Clacks and bangs, whirs and thuds, a rhythm so fierce it seems to shake the walls. You open your mouth to breathe, but even your breath feels swallowed by the roar. The floor trembles underfoot. Cotton dust rises in clouds, coating hair and skin, catching in your throat. You taste it already, dry and bitter, sticking to your tongue. You wipe your nose on your sleeve, but the dust clings. It will cling all day. Beside you, your loom rattles. You steady it with a practiced hand, guiding threads into place. Your fingers move quickly, almost without thought, twisting, tying, checking. Each movement is ingrained, a rhythm built from repetition. You glance at the child next to you. His hands dart beneath the shuttle, quick, too quick, retrieving a thread before it tangles. He moves with the speed of necessity, not choice. One hesitation, and the machine would catch his sleeve, his skin. The overseer's eyes sweep the floor. He watches not to protect, but to enforce. A dropped thread, a slow hand, a pause too long, and his stick raps against your loom. The noise is lost in the thunder, but the sting is not. Everyone knows the rhythm must never falter. You think of the clock again. 10 hours ahead, maybe 12. The bell will not sound for release until evening shadows creep across the windows. Until then, your world is this. The loom, the dust, the endless pounding of machines. Some say the factories are progress, proof of an empire's strength. Pamphlets boast of industry, of wealth flowing from cotton and coal. But here, inside these walls, progress feels like chains. The machine sets your pace. The overseer sets your worth. The bell sets your life. Your shoulders ache already, arms straining against the pull of threads. Sweat prickles beneath your layers. Though the air is cold outside, you wipe your brow with your sleeve, leaving a smear of dust across your skin. The taste of cotton grows stronger, a film on your teeth. You cough, but the noise vanishes into the roar. Time slows. Minutes drag like hours, yet the machines never pause. They pound on relentless, each shuttle a blur, each belt a whip. The day has begun, and the factory has claimed you. The roar fills everything. It pounds in your ears, presses into your chest, rattles in your teeth. Even your thoughts seem to fray beneath it, threads shaken loose by the constant hammer of sound. Yet within this thunder, children move, quick, darting shadows between iron teeth. To your left, a boy no taller than the loom itself crouches low. His cap slips as he stretches an arm beneath the shuttle, fingers nimble, snatching at a broken thread. He does not flinch at the blur of wood flying inches from his head. His hands move with the speed of instinct, his body trained by repetition. One mistake could mean a broken finger, a crushed hand, yet he does not pause. He ties the knot swiftly and darts back, eyes already scanning for the next fault. These children are called scavengers or piecers. Their work is constant, their danger endless. They crawl beneath the frames, dart between moving belts, slip through spaces adults cannot reach. Records from factory inspectors describe them barefoot, ragged, skin-smeared grey with dust, eyes wide with fatigue. Some are as young as 5. You look at them now, and they seem smaller still, swallowed by the machines they serve. You remember hearing of accidents. A girl pulled into the spinning frame, her hair caught, her scalp torn. A boy who lost his hand when the shuttle snapped. The overseer dismissed them quickly, muttering about carelessness. Work stopped for only a moment before the machines thundered on. The factory does not grieve. The boy beside you coughs, a thin sound nearly lost in the roar. His face is pale beneath the dust, lips cracked, nose streaming. He wipes it on his sleeve and keeps moving. His shift will last as long as yours. 12 hours, sometimes more. No child's body is made for this, yet here they are, hundreds of them, stitched into the fabric of the day. You bend to your loom, guiding threads, eyes flicking toward the child again. His fingers tremble slightly now, the speed faltering. The overseer notices. He strides forward, stick in hand, and raps it sharply against the frame. The boy jerks, startled, and quickens his pace. Fear replaces fatigue for a time. You feel anger rise in your chest, but you swallow it down. Speaking would bring the stick against you next. The dust thickens as the looms gather speed. Tiny motes swirl in the shafts of light, turning the air to fog. You breathe shallowly, lungs protesting, throat raw. The children breathe it too, their small chests heaving, shoulders hunched. Doctors call it mill fever, the cough that begins with dust and ends with a grave. But wages, however meagre, demand lungs be filled day after day. A girl with braids tied in rags climbs onto the stool beside her machine. She cannot be more than 9. Her hands are quick, fingers darting to catch threads, nails black with grime. She hums faintly, a tune you almost recognize, though the roar swallows most of it. Perhaps it is a lullaby from home, something sung to her once before nights turned to work. The sound carries for a moment, a fragile melody against the thunder. The overseer glares but does not stop her. Perhaps he does not hear. Perhaps he has learned that even song cannot halt the machines. You glance at her and feel something stir. Pity, admiration, sorrow. She does not look at you, eyes fixed on the threads, lips moving with the tune. Hours crawl. The clock's hands barely shift. Children dart and climb, stoop and scurry, each motion repeated until it blurs into one endless rhythm. You lose track of how many threads you've tied, how many times your fingers have brushed the sharp edges of the shuttle. Your knuckles are raw, skin cracked, nails rimmed black. Still the looms pound on. A sudden cry pierces the noise. You whip your head around. A boy has slipped, his hand caught between gears. He screams, high and shrill, though the roar swallows most of it. Blood splatters across the frame. Workers flinch but do not move. The overseer is already there, wrenching the machine to a halt. The boy is dragged free, his hand mangled, fingers bent at impossible angles. He sobs, face grey with shock. The overseer barks for someone to take him away. 2 older men lift him, one gripping beneath his shoulders, the other holding his legs. The boy whimpers as they carry him toward the door. His pail is left behind, lunch uneaten, tin already gathering dust. The loom starts again almost instantly. The rhythm resumes as if nothing happened. You stare at the empty space where he stood. Another child will take it by tomorrow. Perhaps today. Wages demand it. Families need coins more than fingers. You return to your loom, though your hands shake. The threads blur before your eyes. You blink, forcing them into focus. There is no choice. The girl with braids still hums softer now. Her eyes flick to the blood-stained boards, then back to her work. You wonder what she thinks, what she feels. But you know the answer already. She feels the same as you, fear, sorrow, and the pressing weight of necessity. The dust clings thicker. Your lungs burn. Sweat stings your eyes. The roar pounds on, relentless. The children move like ghosts, small and tireless, weaving themselves into the rhythm of the machines. You think of your own childhood. Was it different? You cannot remember. Work has stretched so long it feels eternal, as though you were born in this noise. The clock finally shifts. An hour has passed, though it feels like 10. You wipe your sleeve across your mouth, cough into the wool, steady your hands. There are more hours ahead. Countless threads, endless noise. The children will move through all of it. Small bodies bent to the machine's will. And when the bell rings again, hours later, they will shuffle out beside you, eyes glazed, skin grey with dust. Some will stumble home, some will not return. But tomorrow the machines will roar again, and new children will crawl beneath them, the cycle unbroken. The roar of the machines does not fade when hunger begins. It only grows heavier, pressing against your skull, until even your stomach's protests feel muffled. Hours pass in fragments, the clock's hands inching forward, each minute dragged through dust and sweat. Your body aches, shoulders tight, back throbbing, fingers raw from endless tying and tugging. Still you move, because stopping is unthinkable. The loom will not wait for you. Then, at last, the bell. It clangs sharp, slicing through the thunder. The looms shudder to a halt, their clacking jaws silenced for the first time since dawn. The sudden quiet is almost unbearable. Ears ring in the absence, a hollow buzzing that makes your head swim. For a moment you sway, breath unsteady, body unsure how to exist without the pounding rhythm. The overseer's voice cuts through. Break, he barks, though he needn't. Already bodies surge toward the door, shawls pulled tight, boots heavy on the boards. You join them, lungs desperate for air beyond dust. The crowd funnels into the yard, spilling into the street. Outside, the sky is pale, grey with smoke, but fresher than the factory's gloom. You cough hard, lungs burning as they expel clouds of cotton. Dust clings to your lips, your hair, your clothes. You rub your sleeve across your face, leaving streaks of grey on already stained wool. Around you others do the same, all of you spitting, sneezing, trying to breathe. Then, like sparks in the fog, voices rise. Hawkers. They wait outside the gates every day. Their cries a chorus more welcome than the overseer's orders. Hot taters. Fresh from the oven, one shouts, holding a tin tray piled high. The skins are blackened, steam curling upward, the smell earthy and rich. Another sings of pea soup, ladled from a pot that swings from his cart. The aroma drifts through the air, thick, warm, a promise of fullness. You step closer, coins clutched tight in your fist. There are not many, each penny must stretch, each half-penny weighed against tomorrow's hunger. Still, the lure of warmth in your hands is irresistible. You pass the man with the tray, and he drops a potato into your palm. The skin scorches your fingers, but you hold it tight, relishing the heat. You bite carefully. The skin splits, steam rushing against your face. The inside is soft, floury, rich in a way only hunger can make it. You chew slowly, savouring, though the bite scalds your tongue. It fills your mouth, fills the hollow in your belly for a moment. Beside you, others clutch their potatoes the same, some wrapped in scraps of paper, some bare, each one eaten as though it were a feast. The boy from the loom beside you sits on the curb, legs folded, pail open. Inside lies bread grey with dust, a scrap of cheese hardened at the edges. He eats quickly, as if afraid the overseer might snatch it away. You glance at your potato, then break off a piece, passing it to him. His eyes widen, then soften with gratitude. He nods, mouth too full for words. The street is alive now. Children dart between carts, hands sticky with soup, laughter bright against the gloom. Women cluster together, sipping tea poured from battered kettles, their shawls wrapped tight. Men lean against the wall, smoking cheap pipes, eyes closed in brief peace. For half an hour, maybe less, the world outside the factory feels almost human. Yet, hunger shadows even this respite. Not everyone holds food. Some sit empty-handed, watching with hollow eyes as others chew. You notice a girl licking crumbs from her palm, her pail empty. Her brother sits beside her, lips cracked, staring at the hawker's cart but making no move. Coins are scarce. Hunger does not pause for bells. The soup hawker passes you, ladle dripping, steam rising from the pot. Hot pea soup. "Ha'penny a bowl," he cries. You hesitate, counting coins in your palm. Enough for today, but what of tomorrow? Still, the smell is too strong, the warmth too tempting. You hand him a coin, and he pours steaming broth into your tin mug. The first sip scalds your lips, but you drink anyway. The taste is simple: peas, water, salt, but it is rich compared to bread alone. The heat spreads through your chest, warming fingers, easing the ache in your stomach. For a moment, the noise of the factory fades, replaced by this simple comfort. Around you, the crowd hums with life. Voices rise and chatter, stories shared, laughter bursting suddenly. A woman tells of a neighbour's wedding, another of a child's birth. Even here, amid hunger and soot, Joy finds a place. You sip your soup and listen. The sound a reminder that survival is more than work. It is also these stolen moments of community. But the break is short. The bell clangs again, harsh, dragging you back. Hawkers gather their trays, voices fading as the crowd surges toward the gates once more. Children abandon hoops and games. Men stub out pipes, women drain their mugs. The soup is swallowed quickly, potatoes finished in hurried bites, crusts tucked away for later. You drain the last of your mug, licking salt from your lips. The warmth lingers, but already the air feels heavier. The crowd presses forward, bodies funneling back through the iron gates. You glance once more at the hawkers, their carts rolling away, steam still rising from pots. Tomorrow they will return, and tomorrow you will stand here again. Coins counted, hunger guiding every choice. Inside, the looms wait. Dust swirls in shafts of light. The overseer's stick taps against the floor. The machines will roar again, louder than hunger, louder than laughter. You pull your scarf tighter, scarf still damp with steam, and step back into the factory's mouth. The day is far from over. The clang of the bell still echoes in your ears as you return to the loom. The potato's warmth lingers faintly in your stomach, though it fades quickly under the weight of dust and noise. The machines roar to life again, shuttles cracking, belts whipping, floorboards trembling. Yet even in this din, whispers circulate, whispers of the workhouse. It begins with a boy 2 frames down, muttering to his neighbour that his father has been out of work for weeks. Wages gone, rent unpaid, food gone too. The landlord has threatened eviction. The family dreads what comes next. The dreaded poor law, the looming workhouse. His voice is barely audible, but you catch the word workhouse, and it chills you more than the wind outside. The workhouse is not just a building. It is a shadow that hovers over every poor household in the city. Everyone knows someone who has been inside. Everyone fears it. For many, it is the last stop before death. They call it indoor relief, as if the name softens the reality. Families stripped of their homes are sent there. But once through the gates, families no longer exist. Husbands separated from wives, children torn from parents, boys in one wing, girls in another. The bonds that hold a household together are severed instantly, as if poverty itself is a crime to be punished by loneliness. You remember stories, children crying for mothers they could not see, women forced into laundry until their hands bled, men breaking stones in the yard, their backs bent under endless labour. Food is meagre, gruel thin as water, bread weighed by the ounce, cheese so hard it cracks teeth. Reformers claimed the diet was calculated deliberately, designed to make the workhouse less appealing than starvation outside. In newspapers you once saw a sketch. Long corridors of stone, bare walls washed with lime, iron gates at the entrance. The caption read, "A model of industry and order," but the faces drawn beneath those arches told another story. Eyes hollow, shoulders slumped, mouths silent. Even on paper the despair bled through. You imagine the smell of those corridors, disinfectant, mildew, unwashed bodies. The thought makes you gag. The overseer's stick raps against a frame, snapping your thoughts back to the loom. You focus on the threads, but your mind drifts again. The word workhouse rings louder than the machines. You glance at the boy who whispered it. His face is pale, eyes hollow. Hunger has carved lines where childhood should be. You wonder if tomorrow he will still be beside you, or if the poor law will claim his family before the week ends. Between shuttles, you think of your own home. Rent looms like a storm cloud. If wages falter, if you fall sick, if the factory closes even for a day, your family too could be at risk. The thought grips your chest tighter than dust, a weight heavier than cotton bales. You swallow hard, throat raw, as though you could force the fear down with breath alone. A woman across the aisle catches your eye. She mouths something. The house. You nod slightly. She too has heard the whispers. Her husband died last winter. fever taking him quickly. She works now with her eldest son, barely 12, their wages stretched thin. The workhouse hovers over them like a vulture. She knows it. You see it in her eyes. The machines clatter on. Children crawl, men sweat, women strain, yet the thought of the workhouse seeps through every motion. It is a silent overseer, harsher than any man with a stick. Its threat ensures obedience, drives bodies harder, keeps complaints hushed. Better to endure dust and noise than risk those iron gates. During the next short pause, when threads are reset and shuttles retied, someone mutters about a neighbour's family. They resisted the workhouse, begged for parish relief instead. The parish refused. Hunger grew sharper. At last the father broke, leading them to the gates himself. They say he wept as he handed his children over. His wife's face turned to stone. No one has seen them since. You shiver, though sweat drips down your back. The image clings, children's hands pulled from their mother's grasp, voices crying out, doors slamming shut. Letters hint at it, newspapers debate it, but for those inside, the truth is never fully told. Some never emerge to speak at all. The bell clangs again, not for freedom but for another reset. You tie a thread quickly, fingers fumbling with dust. The overseer's gaze passes, sharp as a blade. You keep your head down, but in your mind the gates of the workhouse stand tall, iron bars cold against your skin. Afternoon stretches long. Hunger returns, sharper now, the potatoes' warmth forgotten. Fatigue weighs your arms, shoulders slumped, lungs raw from dust. Yet still you work, because the alternative is worse. You would rather cough your lungs black in the mill than surrender your family to separation. This is the unspoken bargain every worker knows. As the sun sinks, light dull behind soot, the bell finally sounds again, not the final release. Hours remain, but a brief pause. You step outside into the yard. The air is no cleaner, but it feels freer, less confined. Around you, whispers resume. Workhouse, poor law, families broken. The words thread through the crowd, weaving fear into every breath. You glance toward the horizon. Beyond the chimneys, you imagine the looming walls, the barred windows, the high gates. You have never seen them up close, but the image is vivid, carved into your mind by stories. It is a place you hope never to enter, a threat you carry with you always. The bell calls again. You turn back inside, shoulders heavy, boots dragging. The looms await. Patient beasts hungry for labour. The workhouse waits too, silent, watching. Between the two, your life is caught, pulled taut, like a thread stretched on a loom. The factory gates finally release you, though not to freedom. The bell clangs, the looms grind to a halt, and for the first time in 12 hours, silence leaks through the cracks. It is not true silence. Your ears still ring with phantom noise, but it is enough. The overseer waves you out, his watch glinting in the dusk. You join the slow river of workers spilling into the street. The air outside is colder now. The sun has begun to sink behind the chimneys, turning the sky into a smudged smear of orange and grey. Smoke clings low, curling around your scarf, settling into your lungs. You cough, chest aching from the dust of the mill, but at least the air feels open, less tight than inside. Around you, bodies shuffle forward. Men stoop, their shoulders bent from years of lifting, their faces hollowed by fatigue. Women clutch shawls tighter, their hands raw from soap, their arms sore from tending frames. Children stumble beside them, eyes glazed, steps dragging. The crowd moves as one, a tide flowing through narrow streets, boots clattering against wet cobbles. Then, like a painting suddenly hung against the soot-stained backdrop, wealth appears. A carriage rolls slowly down the street, wheels polished, brass fittings gleaming in the fading light. Its horse is sleek, coat brushed to a shine, harness trimmed with silver. Inside, behind glass, a woman reclines. Her gown is silk, pale against the gloom, her hat crowned with feathers so tall they brush the roof. Beside her sits a man in a coat of velvet, gloved hand resting casually on the window ledge. The crowd parts instinctively. Workers press against the walls, boots splashing into gutters, shawls dragged over faces to avoid the mud that sprays as the wheels roll past. You step back with them, your body pinned against damp brick. The horse's hooves strike hard, echoing against stone, each step steady, powerful, entirely unlike the stumbling pace of your own boots. For a moment you lock eyes with the woman, or perhaps you imagine it. Her gaze is distant, unfocused, sliding past the crowd as if it were scenery, not flesh. She does not see the rags, the soot, the hollow eyes. She sees only the city passing by, a blur between her and her destination. Then the carriage moves on, swallowed by the fog, its lamps glowing faintly as it turns a corner. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Some curse softly, bitterness rough in their throats. Others laugh grimly, a humour born of exhaustion. One man spits into the street, the black phlegm stark against wet stone. Another mutters about the cost of that single gown. More than a year's wages, perhaps more than two. The words fade quickly, swallowed by the shuffle of boots. Complaints change nothing. You move on, yet the image lingers. Silk and feathers against soot and rags. A velvet glove against hands cracked with dust. The divide between worlds feels insurmountable, a gulf wider than rivers, wider than oceans. You wonder what it must be like to step from a warm carriage into a house with fire already lit, food already waiting, sheets fresh and clean. The thought is almost too distant to grasp. A child beside you stumbles, nearly falling beneath the press of bodies. You reach out, steadying him. His cap is too large, slipping over his eyes, his trousers patched at the knees. He looks up at you, cheeks hollow, lips cracked, and smiles faintly in thanks before hurrying on. His world is yours. Dust, hunger, soot. The carriage belongs to another realm entirely. At the corner, gas lamps flicker to life, their glow golden in the gathering dusk. The wealthy pass beneath them, boots polished, skirts sweeping clean across the stones. Behind them, hawkers still cry their wares, apples polished red, roasted chestnuts steaming in paper cones. You glance once, but your coins are gone. The taste of potato and soup lingers faintly, but hunger gnaws again already. A church bell tolls in the distance. It sounds softer than the factory's iron clang, yet no less commanding. The wealthy may attend evening service, seated in pews carved smooth, hymns swelling in harmony. You and your kind will pass the church doors only to hear the echoes drift through the cracks. Faith may be free, but dignity is not. As you turn down another street, you glimpse a house rising above the rest. Its windows glow warmly, curtains drawn back to reveal a dining table laid with silver and porcelain. A servant moves between chairs, placing dishes steaming with meat and vegetables. The sight stabs sharp as hunger itself. You look away quickly, scarf pulled higher, boots dragging you onward. The crowd thins as workers branch toward alleys, toward cramped rooms, toward lodging houses where straw mattresses wait. You follow, though the image of the carriage, the house, the table remain burned in your mind. Wealth moves past you like a phantom, untouchable, indifferent, its wheels scattering mud that stains but never stops you. You glance back once, just once, as the lamps glow brighter and the fog thickens. Another carriage rolls past, lamps glowing like twin stars in the dark. You step aside again, pressed against brick, your breath misting in the cold. The gulf yawns wider, yet still you walk, because there is no other road. The city swallows the moment quickly. Chimneys smoke, gutters run, voices rise. Wealth has passed, and you remain one among thousands, boots dragging on cobbles slick with soot. Yet the memory lingers, a reminder of the distance between silk and rags, velvet and dust. You pull your scarf tighter, eyes on the ground. The night grows colder. The work ahead remains endless, and the wheels of the wealthy roll on, unheeding, unstoppable, into another world entirely. Sunday comes, though it is not the day of rest the parsons promise. The factory gates may be closed, the looms silenced for a handful of hours, but the work of survival does not pause. It waits at home, piled high in corners, folded into baskets, soaking in tubs. Laundry, endless, back-breaking, never finished. You wake to the sound of water sloshing into a pail. Your mother stands at the doorway, shawl tied tight, arms already trembling from the weight. She has fetched water from the pump 2 streets away, dragging the bucket along uneven stones. The pump itself queues with neighbours, each waiting their turn, each muttering about the slow trickle, the taste of rust, the bitter cold of iron handles at dawn. Inside, the fire is lit, smoke curling low before the chimney catches. A kettle rests atop the grate, its sides blackened, steam beginning to rise. Today the water must be heated. There is no other way to battle the mountain of shirts, skirts, stockings, and sheets that choke the room. Every item carries the week's labour, sweat soaked into collars, soot ground into hems, cotton dust clinging to every seam. You kneel beside the tub, a battered tin basin dented with years of use. The first load goes in, shirts mostly grey now though, once white. Soap follows, a hard block shaved into slivers. Its smell is sharp, biting, mixed with fat and lye. It burns your knuckles, cracks skin already rough from the loom. Still, you rub, plunge, wring, the rhythm as relentless as the factory's clatter. Outside the window, other families do the same. Lines sag beneath the weight of dripping sheets. Women kneel in doorways, hands red, shoulders hunched. Buckets spill grey water into gutters, mingling with ash and refuse. Sunday in the courts and alleys is a chorus of scrubbing, slapping, wringing. A different kind of industry, but no less exhausting. Your arms ache quickly. The tub seems bottomless. The pile never shrinking. Every shirt holds more dirt than seems possible. Every sock reeking of sweat and damp. You scrub until your fingers sting, until nails bend, until your wrists throb. Still you scrub because clothes must be clean, or at least cleaner, if dignity is to survive. Respectability is stitched into seams, and neighbours judge by the state of collars more than by the hunger in your eyes. Soap is scarce, so tricks are many. A pinch of soda ash to soften the water, a dash of blue powder, bluing, to make linen look whiter than it truly is, a smear of starch rubbed into collars so they hold stiff for at least 1 more week. Each step leaves its mark, skin raw, nails yellowed, lungs stung by the sharp fumes. Yet without them the clothes would look forever dingy, and appearances matter as much as rent. Your sister joins you, sleeves rolled, hair tied back with string. She plunges stockings into the water, wrings them tight, the muscles in her thin arms straining. Her face is set in grim focus, though she hums faintly, perhaps to keep time. Beside her, the baby fusses in its cradle, coughing weakly, soot rattling in tiny lungs. Your mother hushes the child between hauling buckets, never pausing long enough to rest. The room grows hot quickly. Steam clouds the air, dripping from low beams, fogging the cracked window. You wipe your forehead with your sleeve, smearing soap across your skin. The heat does not ease the ache in your back, the sting in your fingers. Still, you keep moving, body bent to the rhythm of water and cloth. At noon, the lines sag heavier, thick with wet laundry. Skirts hang like sodden shadows, shirts twisted and dripping, stockings stretched long and thin. The courtyard smells of soap, smoke, and damp wool. You glance upward. Neighbours above hang laundry too, water dripping from their lines onto yours. Arguments often spark here, voices rising over whose sheets drip where, whose buckets splashed across whose steps. Today tempers are sharp but held in check. Tomorrow the factory will claim voices again. Sometimes when coal is scarce and fires burn low, laundry is scrubbed cold. Your grandmother spoke of it. Knuckles raw from icy water, cloth frozen stiff before it dried. She called it washing the bones of the house. You imagine her now, bent over a tub, wringing linen with hands that cracked until they bled. The thought makes your own fingers throb harder. Down the street, you hear neighbours talking of the new wash houses built by reformers, public laundries with great boilers, proper drying rooms, and taps that run without waiting. Some scoff at them, saying the fees are too high. Others dream of them, of steam that rises from iron pipes instead of from a cramped hearth. You wonder if you will ever see inside one. For now, the battered tub and the endless buckets are your only world. By afternoon, the first loads are dry enough to fold. They smell faintly cleaner, though soot clings always, sinking too deep to scrub out. Collars are less grey, cuffs less stiff, but no one mistakes them for new. Each shirt is a survivor of both work and wash, each skirt thinner from wear. You stack them carefully, though you know by week's end they will return, heavy with sweat and dust again. Your mother sighs as she lowers the last bundle into a basket. Her shoulders slump, her hands tremble, but her face carries a faint satisfaction. The laundry is not perfect, but it is done, or done enough. Tomorrow will bring more. It always does. Evening shadows creep through the window. The lines still sag with damp sheets, fluttering faintly in the cold breeze. The fire has burned low, the kettle empty. Your arms hang heavy at your sides, wrists swollen, fingers cracked and red. You sink onto the stool, too tired to move. The smell of soap still thick in your nose. Sunday is over. Rest never came. Tomorrow the bell will sound again, and you will return to the factory. But tonight, for a brief moment, you sit among clean clothes, steam still curling, the echo of scrubbing fading slowly. Respectability survives another week, washed into threadbare collars, wrung into patched skirts, pinned to sagging lines. Tomorrow, the cycle begins again. Evening creeps in slowly, shadows stretching across the damp courtyard, gas lamps flickering to life with a hiss. The air cools, carrying smoke from chimneys and the faint tang of boiling cabbage from a neighbour's pot. Work may be finished for the day, but minds do not rest. In cramped rooms across the city, another kind of hunger stirs. The hunger for words, for stories, for scraps of the wider world beyond soot and stone. On the table lies a penny paper, its edges already frayed from passing through many hands. It is cheap, printed on thin, grey paper that leaves ink smudges on your fingers. The ink itself smells faintly of tar and smoke, as though the city has seeped into its pages. The type is uneven, some letters pressed too deep, others faint, yet you squint eagerly at the columns. The headlines scream of politics, of wars in distant lands, of scandals among the wealthy. Yet between the long lines of cramped print, your eyes catch on shorter pieces, stories, serials, tales that unfold 1 week at a time. A neighbour has brought it in, paid his penny at the stall, and now it is shared among the houses. You pass it along carefully, smoothing creases, straining to read by the dim light of a single candle. For some in the room, letters are still a puzzle, sounds struggling to form into words. For others, reading is fluent, quick though never easy on tired eyes. The paper is read aloud so all can hear, voices stumbling over names, pausing at words unfamiliar. The stories are wild. Murders in Whitechapel, ghostly apparitions on country roads, noblemen caught in disgrace. Children lean close, eyes wide, listening as if the words themselves were treasures. Each week the tales continue, each ending with a cliffhanger, a promise that next Sunday will bring another twist. These penny dreadfuls cost only a penny, yet they open worlds of terror, wonder, and excitement. Your sister clutches a small chapbook, bought second-hand, its cover torn. The woodcut illustration is crude, a monster with claws, a damsel in peril. She traces the lines with her finger, whispering the words haltingly. School has given her letters, but practice is rare. Still, she persists, lips moving silently, a smile flickering when she masters a phrase. The candlelight dances across her face, a hunger for stories as sharp as your hunger for bread. Literacy is growing. Reformers push schools, inspectors enforce attendance, yet many still stumble. Some parents grumble that children learn words when they should earn wages, but the penny papers spread faster than sermons, their cheap price irresistible. By the 1880s they flood the streets, sold by shouting boys who wave them like flags. You hear their voices even now outside. Latest edition, read all about it. The cry sharp, urgent, cutting through the night. Inside, the room is warm with voices. One man reads of a trial in London, his voice rising at the judge's words. Another interrupts with laughter, mocking the pomp of the court. A woman hushes him, eager to hear the verdict. Around them, children sit cross-legged on the floor, eyes wide, listening as if the fate of strangers were their own. For a moment, soot and hunger fade, replaced by words that transport minds far beyond these walls. Yet not all stories comfort. Some remind too closely of the life outside these doors, a report of a family sent to the workhouse, a warning of fever spreading in nearby streets, letters to the editor debating factory conditions, wages, strikes. These words sting, reminding you that your struggle is not unique, that thousands endure the same, that suffering is woven into every city street. Still, even the bleakest lines carry power. To read them is to know you are not alone, that others share your burden, and sometimes amid the gloom, there are sparks, tales of reformers pressing for cleaner water, for shorter hours, for schools, hints that change might come, though slowly, unevenly, often too late for those who need it most. The candle burns low, wax dripping onto the table. Your mother dabs it with her finger, saving what she can. Light is precious, every stub of candle stretched across nights. Still, she allows it for the paper. Knowledge feels worth the cost. Sometimes, when the paper is read aloud, it becomes almost like a bedtime story. The younger children listen wide-eyed, not caring if they understand every word. The rhythm of sentences, the drama of battles and monsters becomes their lullaby. You glance at them now, their heads nodding, eyes half closed, soot-streaked faces soft in the glow. Stories soothe hunger when food does not. Beyond your street, papers spread in pubs too. Men pass them from hand to hand, voices raised in argument over politics, in laughter at scandals. The cheap sheets become fuel for conversation, for quarrels, for fleeting community. Tomorrow, scraps of today's issue may wrap a pie from a hawker or line a shoe against damp cobbles. Words travel even when the stories fade. Do you think fleetingly of the future? How people may one day hold whole libraries in their hands, words glowing in light instead of flickering candle flame. A strange, impossible dream, but comforting. Tonight, the crumpled paper in your palm feels just as miraculous. As the hour grows late, voices soften. The paper is folded carefully, passed back to the neighbour who lent it. He tucks it into his coat, promising to bring the next issue. Your sister yawns, chapbook clutched to her chest, lips still forming silent words even as her eyes close. You stretch your legs, stiff from crouching, and glance at the dark window. Beyond it lies the city, alive with stories not yet told, scandals not yet printed, tragedies not yet mourned. Tomorrow, new headlines will cry from the stalls, new penny dreadfuls will twist their tails, and once again the hunger for words will draw you back, a hunger as relentless as the one in your belly. For now, you let your eyes close. The candle flickers, voices fade, and the night presses close. In dreams, perhaps, the stories will continue, unrolling like the pages of a paper without end. The week drags heavily, day after day swallowed by the roar of the looms. But when Saturday night arrives, or sometimes Sunday evening after the wash is hung and folded, the city offers another rhythm. Not the thunder of machines, not the hush of penny papers, but the thrum of voices lifted in laughter and song, the music hall. You feel it first in the street outside. Gas lamps flare bright along the road. their light hazy through the ever-present smoke. Posters slap against brick walls, corners curling from damp, promising marvels inside. Comic singers, acrobats, ballad singers, even performing dogs. Names painted bold in red ink, caricatures drawn with thick strokes, each face grinning or winking as if inviting you personally to step closer. Crowds gather at the entrance. Men in caps jostle for space. Women in shawls push forward with coins clutched tight. The air smells of spilled beer, fried fish, damp wool steaming in the press of bodies. You push through, shoulder to shoulder, until you reach the door. A penny in hand, sometimes two, buys entry. Inside, warmth strikes you immediately. The heat of hundreds packed into one hall. The glow of lamps, the haze of smoke curling thick beneath the rafters. The floor is sticky beneath your boots, slick with beer spilled from mugs. Benches line the room, though many stand pressed tight, craning for a view of the stage. The stage itself is small, curtains faded but pulled wide, footlights burning yellow. Musicians tune their instruments. Fiddles squeak, a piano thunders briefly, a drum thuds once. The murmur of the crowd swells. Then the performer strides out. A comic singer, hat askew, waistcoat gaudy, grin wide as the hall. He launches into a song, his voice rough but strong, words bouncing in rhythm with the piano. The crowd erupts, clapping, stomping boots in time. The chorus is easy, meant for all to join, and soon the hall roars with voices, hundreds singing as one, laughter shaking the walls. You sing too, though your throat is raw from dust. The words tumble out, half shouted, half laughed, your body carried by the tide of sound. For a moment, the ache in your back fades, the sting in your hands forgotten. Here, among voices, among laughter, you feel almost light. Between songs, the hall buzzes, mugs clink as beer is poured, froth spilling over onto the benches. Hawkers move through the crowd, selling pies wrapped in paper, sausages skewered on sticks, roasted chestnuts warm in small bags. The smells mingle with smoke and sweat, heavy but comforting. You clutch a mug, its rim chipped, the ale weak and watery, yet it burns warmly down your throat. Another act begins. A ballad singer this time, her dress patched but bright beneath the lights. Her voice rises high, carrying a tune of lost love, of sailors gone to sea. The crowd softens, voices hushed, mugs stilled. You watch her face, pale beneath powder, eyes shining as she sings. Some in the crowd wipe at their eyes, rough hands brushing tears quickly away. Even laughter pauses for sorrow, if only for a song. The mood shifts again with the next act. A comic duo tumbles onto the stage, one tall and thin, the other short and round. Their jokes are crude, their movements exaggerated, but the hall howls with laughter. You laugh too, shoulders shaking, stomach aching, the sound spilling out uncontrolled. It feels strange after so many days of silence and dust to laugh so freely, strange and good. Children sit wide-eyed at the edge, their faces lit by the footlights. They laugh too, their voices higher, their claps quicker. For them this is magic. The stage alive with colour and sound. The hall a world apart from grey streets and soot. You remember being their age, peering through doors, dreaming of stepping inside. Now you stand among the crowd, voice raised with theirs, part of the rhythm. Not everyone approves. Preachers condemn the halls as dens of vice, places of drunkenness and sin. They warn of temptation, of songs too crude, of laughter too loud. But for those packed into mills by day and cramped rooms by night, the music hall is no sin. It is survival. A few hours of escape, a chance to breathe in joy instead of dust. The night deepens, acts following acts, songs following songs. Some falter, voices cracking, jokes falling flat. Others soar, drawing cheers, stomps, whistles. The crowd is ruthless, but generous. They demand honesty, energy, humour. When given, they repay with thunderous applause. You lean back against the wall, body tired but spirit lifted. The hall vibrates with sound, with heat, with life. You glance around at faces near you, men grinning, women clapping, children bouncing on benches. All of you for this brief time are not workers or paupers or tenants. You are simply a crowd united by laughter and song. The final act arrives. A grand finale, all voices raised together. The comic singer returns, joined by others, and the hall erupts into one last chorus. You sing until your throat burns, until your lungs ache, until you feel the sound in your bones. The song ends with a crash of piano, a stomp of boots, a roar of voices. For a heartbeat, silence follows, then cheers thunder like waves. When the lamps dim and the crowd begins to thin, you step back into the night. The street is cold again, the fog heavy, the cobbles slick, but something lingers, a warmth, a lightness, a memory of laughter. It clings even as the air bites, even as the smoke returns. You walk home slowly, boots heavy, scarf pulled tight. Around you, others do the same, their voices still humming snatches of chorus. Some stagger with drink, others laugh loudly, some walk silent but smiling faintly. The music hall fades behind you, but its echo remains. Tomorrow will bring the factory again, the dust, the roar, the endless rhythm. But tonight, for a few hours, you lived another rhythm, one of voices, laughter, song, and that is enough to carry you forward. The echo of laughter still clings to you the next morning, faint as smoke, but the city is never still, never quiet, never satisfied with one rhythm. As the week winds on, another chorus rises, sharper, sterner, less joyful than the music hall, the voices of temperance. It begins in the street. A group gathers on the corner, men and women with pamphlets in hand, banners painted with bold letters. Gin is the devil's drink. Their voices carry over the clatter of carts, the cries of hawkers. One man, tall and thin, shouts of ruined families, of wages wasted at the gin shop, of children starving while fathers stagger home. His words are harsh, yet they strike chords in those who listen. You pause, scarf pulled tight, watching the small crowd form. The temperance movement is not new. For decades preachers have railed against drink, warning of sin and ruin. But now the societies have grown, with meetings in church halls, pledges signed with solemn ink, songs sung not of laughter but of righteousness. In a city drowning in beer and spirits, their words cut through like bells in fog. You know the gin shops. They condemn. Narrow rooms lit by weak lamps, counters sticky with spills, air heavy with sweet, burning fumes. Inside, men clutch glasses filled cheap, swallowing fire that numbs hunger and soothes ache. Women too stand there, shawls slipping, coins pressed into the barman's hand. Children sometimes cling to skirts, eyes wide watching their mothers drink. Reformers call them gin palaces, though palaces they are not, only bright facades hiding misery. A memory rises. Your uncle, face flushed, stumbling home with wages gone. Your aunt weeping quietly, the cupboard bare. The children silent, too young to understand, but old enough to feel the absence of bread. The image never leaves you, sharpened each time a pamphlet warns of ruin. The meeting moves indoors, into a church hall rented for the night. You follow with the crowd, curious, wary. The hall is lit by gas lamps, their glow reflecting off whitewashed walls. Benches line the floor, filled quickly with bodies, men in rough coats, women in shawls, children fidgeting. The air smells of damp wool and candle wax, of the faint smoke clinging to every garment. At the front stands a wooden lectern, and behind it a banner, Temperance is Hope. The speaker begins. His voice is deep, measured, practiced. He tells of families broken, wages wasted, children hungry. He speaks of crime, of violence, of prisons filled with men who drank away their dignity. His words are painted broad, heavy with judgment, yet they land with weight. Around you heads nod, eyes narrow, hands clench. Then a woman steps forward. Her dress is plain, her voice trembling at first, but steady as she continues. She tells her own story. A husband lost to drink, children buried too soon, nights spent cold and hungry. Her voice cracks on the word hunger, and the hall falls silent. Even restless children still their feet, eyes wide. The story is not new, too many have lived it, but hearing it aloud cuts deep. Pamphlets pass through the benches. You take one, paper thin, ink smudged. It bears a drawing, a family in rags, children weeping, a man slumped drunk at the table. The caption reads, "Drink is death at the door." You trace the lines with your finger, the image sharp even in crude print. You think of your uncle again, of neighbours whose wages vanish into mugs. You think of yourself, of coins spent on ale at the music hall. Was it weakness? Was it survival? A pledge is called. Those who vow to abstain from drink step forward, signing their names or making their mark. Some hesitate, glancing at neighbours. Others rise quickly, determination in their eyes. A boy not much older than you presses forward, chalk in hand, scratching his name onto the board. The hall erupts in applause. His mother weeps quietly, clutching his shoulder. Children mimic adults, standing straighter, folding hands as if they too understand the gravity. One girl tugs her mother's sleeve, begging to add her mark beside the woman's. She cannot write, so she draws a crooked cross. The crowd claps, the girl beams, and for a moment hope flickers in the lamplight. You remain seated, heart heavy. The pledge feels distant, impossible. Beer dulls the ache of dust in your lungs, the pain in your back. Without it, nights would stretch colder, harder, and yet you cannot shake the woman's voice, the pamphlet's image, the warning in the preacher's eyes. The meeting ends with song. Voices rise in hymns, words simple, melody strong. Throw down the glass, lift up your hand. The chorus echoes in the rafters, spilling into the street. You sing quietly, though your voice trembles. When the doors open, the crowd spills into the night, their breath steaming, their eyes lit with purpose. Some go home solemn, others jubilant, voices still raised. Outside, the city continues. Gin shops glow brightly, windows polished, lamps shining like beacons, mirrors sparkle behind counters, bottles catching the light in rows of green and amber. Inside, laughter bursts, mugs clink, the sweet smell of spirits rolls out into the street. Men stagger, women sway, children trail behind. The hymn still hangs in the air, but the glow of the gin palaces drowns it. Louder, brighter, more tempting. The two worlds brush against each other but do not meet. One calling for abstinence, the other drowning in drink. You stand between them, scarf pulled close, torn. The church door closes behind you. Hymn echoes fading. Ahead, the gin shop door swings open. Laughter spilling out. You hover in the middle, the night cold, the decision heavier than stone. Later at home, the pamphlet rests on the table. Your mother reads it slowly, lips pressed tight. Your father glances once, then turns away, muttering about hard days and short wages. He speaks of needing ale to forget the dust, to silence the ringing in his ears. She says nothing, but a silence is sharper than words. You lie awake on the straw mattress, the image of the drawing still sharp behind your eyes. Drink as escape, drink as ruin, which is it? Perhaps both. You drift into uneasy sleep, with the hymn echoing faintly in your ears. Throw down the glass. But in dreams, the sound mixes with the roar of looms, the cries of hawkers, the clang of bells. No pledge can silence the city. The city teaches hardness. Yet even here, in soot and hunger, kindness threads itself quietly through the days. It does not arrive in grand gestures. It comes in scraps of bread, in stitches made by tired hands, in the warmth of a neighbour's fire when your own has gone cold. This morning begins with a knock at the door. Not a landlord's fist, not an overseer's summons, but a softer rap, 3 quick taps. When you open it, a neighbour stands there, her shawl pulled close, a small bowl balanced in her hands. Inside is broth, thin but steaming, the smell of onions and bones rising. For the little one, she says simply, nodding toward the baby who coughs weakly in the cradle. You thank her, words fumbling, and she smiles faintly before hurrying back across the court. The bowl is chipped, the broth watery, yet in that moment it feels like a feast. Kindness appears often in kitchens such as they are. Women lean across doorways, sharing scraps. Half a loaf here, a handful of oats there. A pot bubbles on one hearth, and spoons dip in from many hands. Hunger is less sharp when it is carried together. You have eaten stews flavoured by generosity more than by meat, each bowl a mixture of whatever could be spared. There are other moments. A man whose boots split on a wet morning is given twine by a stranger. Children trading marbles stop to share a crust. A shawl draped across a neighbour's shoulders when the wind cuts sharp. No one has much, but what little exists is stretched, patched, passed along. You recall a winter's night not long past. The fire had burned low, coal gone, wood nothing but splinters. Your breath misted in the room. Frost crept across the inside of the window. Then came another knock. This time a boy from down the street, carrying a lump of coal wrapped in cloth. His mother had sent him, though she had barely enough herself. That coal burned for hours, just enough to warm the baby, to let you sleep without fear of ice on your lips. Sometimes kindness arrives in needle and thread. Your sister's dress, worn thin at the hem, was patched by a neighbour who sews for pennies. She stitched it carefully, adding a strip of patterned cloth from her own old skirt. When your sister wore it to chapel, heads turned not with pity but with admiration, pride, small but real, stitched into borrowed fabric. Even the factory holds sparks of generosity. Amid the roar and dust, workers glance for one another, covering when a thread slips, steadying when hands shake. A boy too tired to stand is given a sip from another's flask. A woman shares her shawl across 2 shoulders. In such places, solidarity is survival. The overseer's stick may enforce obedience, but it cannot erase the quiet acts that soften each blow. Children, too, know kindness. They guard each other in ways adults sometimes forget. A girl shares her penny dreadful with 3 others, holding it wide so all can see the crude drawings. Boys carve whistles from scraps of wood, passing them along even when their own pockets are empty. In streets where cruelty is easy, play itself becomes an act of care. Not all kindness is simple. Sometimes it is resistance disguised. When the parish collector comes demanding rent, neighbours whisper of who can lend a shilling, who can delay the knock another week. When inspectors pass, women sweep doorsteps fiercely, hiding signs of illness so families are not torn apart. The lies they tell, the faces they compose, are born not of deceit but of love. You think of an old woman who lives at the end of the alley, bent, frail, her eyes clouded, yet she knows every child's name. She sits on her stoop, with pockets full of crumbs saved from her own bread. Sparrows flock to her hands, and children gather to watch. She calls it feeding the hungry souls. Perhaps she means the birds, perhaps the children, perhaps both. At night in the lodging house, kindness takes another shape. The straw is thin, lice plentiful, but bodies shift to make space for one more. A child shivers, and an older boy lays his arm across them. Someone coughs too hard, and a hand offers a rag. Sleep is easier when warmth is shared, even if the warmth is fleeting. Kindness, too, is memory. You recall your mother once saving a crust of bread all day, hidden in her apron, only to press it into your hand when you cried from hunger. She told you she wasn't hungry herself, though her hollow cheeks betrayed her. That crust tasted richer than any feast. You never forgot it. In moments of despair, when the workhouse shadow looms, It is kindness that holds families back from the brink. A neighbour shares broth. A stranger pays a penny short on rent. A shawl is passed from one back to another. These gestures cannot erase poverty, cannot silence the loom or the overseer's stick, but they weave a thread of humanity through a world that too often feels inhuman. Tonight, as you sit by the dim fire, you hear another knock. A friend appears with a heel of bread, stale but precious, saved from her own meal. She presses it into your hand, smiling faintly. For tomorrow, she says, you thank her softly, throat tight. Tomorrow will bring the factory, the dust, the endless noise. But tomorrow will also carry this bread, this kindness, this reminder that survival is not endured alone. You stretch your hands toward the fire, its flames low but steady. Around you, the room breathes with quiet, the baby sighing in sleep, your sister mending by candlelight. Outside, the city groans, chimneys smoking, voices shouting. Yet here, within these walls, kindness lingers like warmth, fragile but fierce. The cough begins quietly, a rough rasp in the night. At first it is brushed aside, dust in the lungs, chill in the bones, everyone coughs. It is the sound of the city itself, but then it deepens, sharper, pulling at the chest until sleep is broken by fits that shake the straw mattress. You lie awake, listening, counting each gasp, each rattle, the sound filling the room like another presence. Illness is never far in these streets. Soot settles on skin, clogs in throats, burrows into lungs. Water from the pump tastes of iron, but worse still, it carries sickness unseen. Cholera, typhoid, fevers that sweep whole courts. Rats scratch in the walls, fleas bite, lice crawl. Any one of these can carry disease, can turn a scratch into a wound that festers, can turn a cough into a death sentence. The baby whimpers in the cradle, his face flushed. Your mother presses a rag dipped in cool water against his forehead. She whispers prayers, though her eyes betray fear. The rag warms quickly and she dips it again, each motion frantic but futile. You reach for her hand, but she shakes her head. We'll see in the morning, she says softly, as though the words themselves might hold the sickness back. Morning comes grey, damp, pressing against the windows. The baby's cry is weaker, the cough harsher. Your mother wrings her hands, glancing at the small purse hidden beneath her shawl. Coins rattle inside, barely enough for rent, not enough for medicine. To summon a doctor would cost shillings, wages that could feed the family for a week. The decision is brutal. Food or medicine, survival of many, or the hope of saving one. Neighbours offer advice instead of coin. One suggests onion syrup boiled with sugar. Another swears by mustard plasters spread hot on the chest. An old woman presses dried herbs into your mother's palm, muttering that they once eased her husband's fever. Remedies born of desperation, passed hand to hand, more faith than science. Still, you try them all. The baby whimpers, the cough continues. Doctors are figures of distance, glimpsed only when money is found or charity intervenes. They wear black coats, carry polished bags, their visits brief, their words clipped. For the wealthy, they bring tinctures and tonics, clean bandages, quiet reassurance. For the poor, they bring warnings, prescriptions for medicines too dear to buy, and a reminder that payment must come first. Many never see a doctor at all. Their only care the rough hands of family and neighbours. In the apothecary's window you once saw bottles lined neatly. Laudanum, castor oil, powdered quinine, salts, syrups of opium. Their labels promised relief, but their prices made your stomach twist. Laudanum calms coughs but steals breath too. Many poor mothers spoon it to their infants, desperate for quiet, not knowing it poisons as much as it soothes. Behind the counter, the chemist weighs powders with solemn precision, each grain worth pennies, each penny worth more than you can spare. And yet, outside the chemist's, charlatans set up stalls. They shout of miracle cures, of elixirs to cure coughs, restore vigour, banish fever. Their bottles glow amber in lamplight, liquid thick with molasses and cheap spirits. Some buy, clutching hope in glass, swallowing faith more than medicine. When the cure fails, no refunds are given, only new promises. You remember a boy from the mill, his arm caught in a frame. The overseer sent for no physician. Instead, the wound was wrapped in rags. The boy carried home. His family begged for help, but without coin, none came. Infection spread. Within a week he was gone. The loom had a new child working it by the next Monday. Charity hospitals exist, but places are few, and the sick must be desperate to enter. Families fear them nearly as much as the workhouse, for to enter often means to die there, alone among strangers. Letters tell of overcrowded wards, of foul smells, of patients left unattended. Yet when fever rises high enough, when breath rattles too loud, families carry their loved ones to the doors and pray. You've glimpsed inside once. Rows of iron beds, sheets grey and damp, air heavy with carbolic acid, meant to cleanse but choking the lungs. Patients cough and moan. Nurses hurry with basins. Doctors stride quickly past. The smell is unforgettable. Sickness mingled with disinfectant, hopelessness masked with lime wash. You stepped back into the street and gulped coal smoke air, as if it were fresh mountain wind. Tonight the fever worsens. The baby's breath comes ragged, tiny chest heaving. Your mother weeps quietly, her hands folded as though in prayer, though her eyes are open, watching each rise and fall of his ribs. She mutters about pawning her shawl, selling the last piece of silver spoon hidden in a drawer, but even these would not pay for long. Medicine is coin and coin is life, and the poor have little of either. You fetch water again, cool from the pump, though your arms ache from hauling. You press the rag to the baby's skin, whispering words you don't believe, words meant to comfort him more than yourself. The cough rattles on, unbroken. In the street, the cry of a hawker drifts upward. Hot chestnut cure, guaranteed to ease your lungs. He sells roasted nuts wrapped in paper, claiming warmth drives out fever. You nearly laugh bitterly at the thought that hope itself has a price. Yet some will buy, for hope is worth more than bread when sickness grips. You think of your own body, the ache in your chest each morning after hours in the dust. You push the thought aside quickly. Idleness cannot be afforded. To fall sick is to fall behind, to risk rent unpaid, to invite the shadow of the workhouse. Better to cough and keep walking than to admit weakness. By dawn, the fever breaks slightly, sweat beading on the baby's forehead. Relief floods the room, fragile but real. He sleeps fitfully, his breath shallow but steady. Your mother slumps beside the cradle, eyes closing for the first time in days. You sit nearby, watching the tiny chest rise and fall, each movement a victory. Illness remains, always close. It hovers in every cough, every fever, every scratch. The cost of care is measured in coins the poor rarely hold, and so survival depends on broth, herbs, prayers, and luck. Sometimes these are enough, sometimes not. For now, you are grateful for this moment, for the thin thread of breath that continues. Tomorrow the factory will call again, dust will thicken in your lungs, and sickness will return. But tonight, as the fire burns low and the baby sleeps, you hold on to kindness, hope, and the fragile miracle of breath. You wonder fleetingly what it might be like to live in a time or place where care does not cost coin, where doctors come without asking first for payment, where medicine is given freely, where children are not weighed against rent. The thought is as distant as silk gowns or warm carriages, yet it lingers, soft as a dream. Morning light filters through soot-streaked windows, grey rather than golden. The factory bell may summon the older children, but for some another summons comes, the schoolroom. Compulsory attendance laws have begun to reach into the city, drawing children into classrooms with slates and chalk, instead of looms and bobbins. Not all obey, not all can afford to, yet for those who step inside, the schoolhouse is another world. You follow a group of children down a narrow alley. their boots scuffing against the cobbles, hands clutching small bags. Inside are slates, a stub of chalk, perhaps a tattered primer if the family could spare the pennies. Their faces are pale, eyes ringed with shadows from work and hunger, but they chatter nervously, half dreading, half curious. The schoolroom sits low and long, brick walls cold, windows smeared with grime, benches line the floor, narrow desks scarred with initials carved by restless hands. At the front stands a blackboard, its surface worn thin from years of chalk and rags. A bell clinks, smaller than the factory's but no less commanding. The children shuffle in, caps pulled off, shawls unwound, breath misting in the chilly air. The teacher waits. His coat is threadbare, his collar frayed, but his posture is rigid. In one hand he clutches chalk, in the other a cane. His eyes sweep the room, sharp, measuring. Silence falls quickly. He raps the cane against the board. Letters, he says, and the lesson begins. Children bend over slates, chalk squeaking, hands clumsy. Some trace letters slowly, tongue between teeth, forming crooked A's and B's. Others write quickly, their hands practiced from evenings spent by candlelight, parents urging them to learn. A few sit frozen, staring at the board, the symbols as strange as foreign coins. The teacher paces, correcting, scolding, sometimes striking. The cane cracks against a desk, against a palm, against a shoulder. Tears rise but are swallowed quickly. To falter is to be punished. To succeed is to be ignored. And yet, beneath the sternness, learning happens. Slowly, painfully, letters become words. A boy scratches out bread, smiling faintly as he recognizes the shape that matches hunger. A girl copies home, her shawl slipping from her shoulders, her lips whispering the word as if it were a prayer. Each chalk mark is a step away from silence, a step toward a world where words can be wielded. Arithmetic follows. Numbers march across the board, stern and unbending. Slates fill with sums, addition, subtraction, division. Children mutter under their breath, counting on fingers, erasing, trying again. Some succeed, some fail, all strain. The teacher drills them relentlessly. He speaks of wages, of rents, of markets. Numbers as survival. A child who can add can one day count pay, one day notice if coins are missing. In this, at least, the lesson touches life. At midday, the room stirs with relief. Pockets produce scraps, crusts of bread, bits of cold potato, the rare sliver of cheese. Children chew quickly, sharing bites, swapping pieces, laughter bubbles faintly, cautious, quickly hushed by the teacher's glare. Hunger sits in every stomach, yet even meagre meals taste brighter when shared. Afternoon lessons turn to scripture. The teacher reads from a tattered Bible, voice stern, words rolling heavy. Children repeat lines, stumbling over strange phrases. Some listen with devotion, others with vacant eyes. For many, the verses mean less than the letters themselves. Still, the cadence of holy words fills the room, rising with the dust motes in the light. Your sister sits among them, slate in hand, lips moving as she copies. Her letters are crooked, but she persists, determination etched in her brow. You watch her from the doorway, pride swelling despite the chill. She is learning. She is reaching beyond soot and hunger, grasping at a world of words. But not all children sit in the schoolroom. You know others who crouch beneath looms instead, fingers raw, eyes dulled. Compulsory education laws drag some away from mills, but many families resist. Wages are too precious. A child's hands earn coins faster than a child's mind earns words. Inspectors may knock at doors, but parents hide their children, sending them back to machines at dawn. Education is a battle, not a gift. Still, the schoolroom grows. Reformers push, churches build, pennies are scraped together for books. Each chalk mark, each letter traced, is a crack in the wall that poverty builds. Not all will escape through it, but some will. As dusk approaches, the day ends. Slates are stacked, chalk tucked away, benches scraped back. Children spill into the street, voices loud now, laughter returning as freedom beckons. Some run to play, hoops rattling along cobbles. Others hurry to homes, to chores, to siblings waiting. The teacher erases the board, chalk dust drifting like snow. Another day finished, another step taken. However small, at home your sister shows you her slate. The letters are crooked, uneven, but legible. She points, whispering each word proudly. Bread, home, love. You nod, smiling though your throat tightens. In those simple marks lies hope, fragile but fierce. Hope that one day she will read without stumbling. Hope that words will carry her farther than soot-stained walls. You run your finger across the chalk lines, feeling their roughness, their imperfection. They are beautiful all the same. In a city where everything is weighed in coins, knowledge is priceless. The fire sputters low. Shadows lengthen. Your sister clutches her slate, refusing to let it go even as she nods off, head resting against your shoulder. You drape a shawl across her, watching the faint chalk smears on her fingers. Tomorrow the factory will call again. The dust will cling. Hunger will gnaw. But tonight there is chalk. There are letters. There is learning. And that is enough. The city presses tight with smoke and stone, but beyond the factories, beyond the rows of brick houses, a patch of earth waits. Not much. Perhaps only a strip behind a wall, or a plot rented cheap on the edge of fields. They call them allotments. To some, they are nothing but dirt. To you, they are life itself. It is Sunday afternoon when you walk there, boots heavy with mud, scarf pulled close. The road leads out from the courts, past gasworks and breweries, until the air clears slightly, soot thinning in the wind. At last the allotments appear, rows of small rectangles divided by fences, each one marked with pride. Here stand crooked sheds patched with tin, tools leaning against posts, scarecrows in old coats flapping in the breeze. Smoke drifts faintly from bonfires where weeds burn. The smell is sharp but fresh, a relief after the stench of streets. Your family's plot is small, barely wide enough to stretch your arms across, but it is yours to tend. The soil clings black to your boots, rich and damp. Potatoes grow here, their leaves pale green, roots swelling beneath. Carrots too, their tops feathery, hidden orange buried in earth. A few cabbages huddle at the far edge, leaves curled tight against the cold. Nothing grows easily in this climate, but even a handful of vegetables is treasure compared to bread alone. You grip the spade, its handle worn smooth, its metal chipped. The wood presses splinters into your palms, but you do not mind. You sink the blade into earth, heave, turn, the soil crumbling with a soft sigh. Beneath the surface, potatoes emerge, brown, lumpy, coated in mud. You gather them carefully, dropping each into the basket at your side. The sound of them hitting wood is comforting, solid, proof of effort turned into food. Your sister crouches nearby, pulling weeds with nimble fingers. She hums softly, the same tune she used when washing clothes, her voice thin but steady. The baby lies wrapped in shawls on the grass, sleeping more peacefully here than in the smoky court. The wind brushes cool across his cheeks, carrying the faint scent of earth instead of soot. Even he seems to breathe easier. Neighbours work their plots too. A man with a crooked back digs furiously, sweat dripping down despite the chill. His wife kneels beside him, scattering seeds from a pouch tied at her waist. Children chase each other between rows, their laughter carrying across the soil. For once, no overseer shouts, no bell clangs. The only rhythm is the scrape of spades, the rustle of leaves, the occasional call of a bird overhead. Not every family has such a plot. Allotments are few, demand high. Reformers praise them as salvation for the working poor, a chance to grow food and learn thrift. But the waiting lists stretch long, and many must make do with scraps of windowsill herbs or none at all. You count yourself fortunate, though the soil is thin and the rent for the land still pinches. Each potato you pull is not just food, it is defiance against hunger itself. Your mother arrives with a basket lined in cloth. She kneels beside you, hands quick as she brushes dirt from the potatoes, stacking them neatly. "Enough for a week," she murmurs, relief in her voice. You nod, though you know it will not last. Still, the sight of them piled high warms your chest in a way bread never could. This food is yours, born of your own hands, your own sweat. A neighbour offers you a carrot, freshly pulled, dirt still clinging. You bite into it. The crunch loud, the taste sharp and sweet. It floods your mouth with flavour richer than any crust of bread. Your sister laughs softly at the sight of you chewing with such delight. You hand her the next one, and she bites too, her eyes widening at the taste. For a moment you are both children again, not workers, not tenants, just siblings eating vegetables in the sun. Stories drift between neighbours as you work. One man speaks of Ireland, of famine years when potatoes rotted black in the ground. His voice lowers, eyes distant, haunted. Others nod solemnly, remembering tales of hunger that stretched across seas. You glance at your own basket, gratitude sharp as fear. These potatoes are healthy, whole, but you know how quickly fortune can rot. The day stretches slowly, shadows lengthen, the air cooling. You stack tools against the shed, brush dirt from your hands. The basket is heavy now, your arms aching as you lift it. The weight is welcome, though, a promise of meals to come. Soup thick with potatoes and onions, perhaps even fried slices if fat can be spared. Cabbage boiled soft, carrots roasted in coals. Simple foods, yet they taste of survival. On the walk home you pass families without plots. Their eyes glance at your basket, some wistful, some envious. You clutch it tighter, guilt pricking but outweighed by pride. Hunger sharpens every gaze in this city. Tomorrow they may find bread cheaper than potatoes or scraps at the market. Tonight you will eat what you grew. At home the fire burns low but steady. The potatoes tumble into a pot, skins splitting as they boil. Steam fills the room, earthy and sweet. You sit nearby, boots off, socks damp, hands still stained with soil. The smell alone soothes your stomach, promising fullness. When the meal is served, each bowl heavy with steaming slices, silence falls. Everyone eats quickly, spoons scraping, breaths blowing against hot food. The taste is simple, pure, better than any pie from a hawker. You chew slowly, savouring each bite, feeling the warmth spread through you. Hunger eases, if only for tonight. Later, when the bowls are empty and the baby sleeps again, you glance at your sister's slate. She writes a single word in chalk. Potato. The letters are crooked, smudged, but legible. She smiles, proud, and you laugh softly. The word feels holy tonight, written proof of survival. Outside, the city groans as always. Smoke thickening, bells ringing, carts clattering. But inside, with soil still under your nails and potatoes warm in your belly, the world feels softer, kinder. Allotments may be small, but they carry hope larger than the fields they occupy. Tomorrow the looms will roar again. Dust will choke, hunger will return. But tonight you sleep with earth still on your skin, the memory of sunlight on green leaves lingering behind your eyes. The day drains from you like water from a cracked jug. Muscles ache from digging, from walking, from work that never ends. The city grows quiet, though never silent. Night settles heavy, and you return home, your boots coated in mud, your lungs raw from soot. Inside, the room is crowded with bodies, and the fire burned low. Shadows stretch long across the walls, flickering with each faint spark from the grate. A single candle glows, its light trembling as if afraid of the darkness pressing in. You sit on the edge of the straw mattress, scarf loosened, shoulders slumped. The window is cracked open. It always is. Doctors preach that fresh air is salvation, that it drives away fever, wards off cholera, clears poison from the lungs. Neighbours believe it. Landlords insist on it, and so even in winter, even in frost, the window gapes, letting the night creep inside. The draught brushes against your skin, cold fingers tracing along your arms. You shiver, pulling the thin blanket higher. Superstitions cling to the practice. Some whisper that stale air in a sealed room can choke a child in its sleep. Others insist that evil spirits thrive in stagnant air, and only a current of night wind can sweep them out. Science and superstition blur together here, woven into the same habit. The window left ajar, the family left shivering. You lie down, body pressed against siblings and cousins, each seeking warmth in the other. Straw pokes through the ticking, scratching your legs. The blanket smells of smoke and sweat, unwashed wool heavy with damp. Yet it is all you have, and you clutch it close. Breath mingles in the narrow space. A chorus of sighs, coughs, mutters. Sleep does not come quickly, but slowly, in fragments. Outside, the city hums faintly. A cart clatters over cobbles, its wheels echoing in the stillness. Somewhere a dog barks, sharp and sudden, silenced by a man's shout. Farther still, the low murmur of voices drifts from a tavern, laughter rising briefly before fading into the fog. Life never ceases here, only shifts from one rhythm to another. The air through the cracked window tastes of soot, sharper at night. Chimneys still belch smoke, though fewer now, blending with mist to form the infamous pea souper. It rolls thick through alleys, seeps beneath doors, settles into lungs even as you sleep. You cough, muffling the sound against the blanket. Around you others do the same, the chorus of illness never silenced. And yet, the cold air is not only burden, it carries hints of other things. Damp earth from nearby allotments, faint sweetness of hay from horses in the street, even a trace of the river far off. For a fleeting moment it almost smells clean. You breathe deeply, clinging to that illusion before soot reasserts itself. Time at night stretches differently. Some call it first sleep and second sleep. You wake briefly in the middle hours, eyes open in the dark, listening to the world breathe around you. In those pauses, families whisper quietly, prayers, confessions, stories told soft so children might dream. Sometimes you rise to stoke the fire, sometimes to fetch water, sometimes simply to stare at the faint glow of moonlight on the window pane. Then sleep returns, heavy but fractured, dragging you down again until dawn. At one point, a fight breaks out in the street. Voices rise, angry, words slurred. A crash of glass shatters the quiet, followed by hurried footsteps. You lie still, heart quickening, listening. The voices fade, replaced by silence again. Such disturbances are common. They ripple through the night like storms, brief but violent. Rats scratch in the walls. You hear their tiny claws skittering across beams, the faint squeak of their quarrels. Sometimes they gnaw at the straw, their teeth rasping. You kick against the floorboards to startle them, but they always return. They live here as you do, survivors of the same streets. You shift on the mattress, turning your face toward the open window. The moon peers faintly through soot and mist, a pale disk blurred at the edges. You wonder if the wealthy sleep beneath clear skies, their windows closed, their rooms warm with coal fires. You imagine their sheets, white, crisp, soft against skin. You picture hot bricks wrapped in cloth, slipped into their beds to warm feet before sleep. You picture silence, true silence, broken only by the crackle of fire. The comparison stings, but only briefly. You are too tired to dwell on it. Dreams arrive in fits, shaped by the noises around you. In one, you walk through fields green and wide, the sky clear, the air fresh, no soot, no coughing. In another, you hear the bell of the factory even in darkness, dragging you back to the looms. Dreams and reality blur until you no longer know where you lie. The cold deepens near dawn. Your body curls tighter, pressing against others, seeking warmth, breath clouds in the air, faintly visible in the dim light. The baby whimpers, and your mother shifts, wrapping him closer. You hear her whisper, soft words meant to soothe. The sound comforts you too, though you cannot catch every word. The cracked window rattles as wind gusts. The draft brushes against your face, waking you briefly. You blink, staring at the ceiling. Its plaster peeling, brown stains spreading where rain once leaked. Your chest aches, lungs heavy, throat raw, yet you draw another breath, because there is no choice. You close your eyes again, surrendering to the night. And then an interruption that belongs to the city alone. The night soil cart rattles by, wheels squeaking, the stink rising as men empty buckets into the barrels. You gag faintly, pulling the blanket tighter, trying to banish the smell. Others turn in their sleep, muttering, "Such is night here. Soot, stink, draughts and dreams tangled together." Morning comes slowly, light seeping grey through the window. The air is colder still, mist hanging thick outside. You shiver as you rise, pulling the blanket from your shoulders. The floorboards bite against bare feet, damp with condensation. Another day waits, another bell, another rhythm of work. You pause, glancing once more at the cracked window. It has stood open all night, a mouth breathing in soot and fog, a hand pressing chill into your bones. Yet without it, fear would whisper louder, fear of stale air, of suffocation, of unseen poisons. Better the cold than the suspicion of death. So it remains open, and you rise weary but alive. In the modern world, perhaps, windows close tight, heaters hum softly, beds lie warm with down and cotton. But here in Victorian streets, the cracked pane is both curse and comfort. It is the breath of the city itself, creeping into your dreams, rattling against your skin, keeping you alive even as it steals warmth. Dawn drags itself slowly into the streets, though the light brings little warmth. The fog rolls low, thick as wool, swallowing corners and softening outlines. It curls around lamp posts, blurs doorways, settles heavy on cobbles slick with last night's rain. The city wakes within this veil, voices muted, footsteps softened, wheels of carts creaking like ghosts. You step outside, scarf pulled close, breath already lost in the mist. The air tastes of coal, bitter and metallic. Each inhalation scratches the throat, yet you breathe deeply, because breath is survival. Boots strike wet stone, the sound swallowed quickly, as if the fog itself devours noise. Figures move ahead of you, shadows more than bodies. Women with baskets tucked close, shawls damp with dew, men bent forward, pipes clenched in teeth, smoke mingling with the fog. Children dart between them, laughter muffled, their small shapes fading in and out like phantoms. The city becomes a dreamscape, familiar yet altered, every street a corridor of haze. The gas lamps glow faintly, halos blurred, their light barely piercing the grey. In some streets, the lamps are the only guide, dots of gold leading deeper into shadow. You follow, boots slipping on slick cobbles, one hand brushing against walls to steady yourself. The brick is damp, cold against your skin, as if the buildings themselves shiver. You pass a market stall, its wares barely visible. Apples gleam dull red through the mist, their skins slick. A woman sells chestnuts, steam rising, vanishing instantly into the air. Her voice is muffled, words indistinct. You buy none, your coins are too few. Still, the smell clings to you, warm and sweet, a comfort even without taste. Deeper into the fog, you glimpse wealth again. A carriage rolls slowly, lamps fixed to its sides, horses snorting, their flanks shining wet. Inside, faint shapes shift, silk gowns, gloved hands, a man's hat tilted. The horse's hooves strike hollow on the stone, the sound fading quickly. The carriage itself seems unreal, a dream gliding past. You watch until it disappears, swallowed whole by mist. The fog thickens, turning noon into twilight. Workers light lanterns even in daylight, flames flickering uncertainly, barely pushing back the grey. In houses, candles burn from morning till night, wax dripping endlessly. The cost is heavy, yet without light, steps falter, hands stumble, accidents multiply. A neighbour tells you of a man who vanished only streets away, later found drowned in the canal, lost in fog so dense he never saw the water until it swallowed him. Children vanish too. A girl chasing her hoop disappears into the haze, her mother screaming her name until at last the child re-emerges, sobbing, only a few yards away but hidden completely by the grey. The fog is not only weather, it is danger, a thief itself. Some call it London particular, others the killer fog. You believe both. The fog blurs lines between rich and poor. Carriages crawl slowly, their lamps no brighter than the lanterns of hawkers. Silk and rags alike are damp, feathers droop, velvet soaks, all cough in unison, throats raw, eyes stinging. For a few hours perhaps, the city feels levelled, everyone a shadow, everyone stumbling, everyone choking on soot and smoke. And yet, when the fog lifts, the gulf will yawn again. You pause at a street corner. The fog is thickest here, swirling like smoke, rising and falling in waves. You hear the strike of a church bell, slow, steady, mournful. Its sound cuts through haze, guiding you. You turn toward it, boots echoing faintly. The bell tolls again, each note heavy, as though marking more than time, as though marking loss, memory, inevitability. A boy brushes past you, barefoot, trousers too short, cap pulled low. He carries a bundle of newspapers, their ink bleeding in the damp. His voice cracks as he calls headlines, but the fog swallows the words. You catch only fragments. Fire, death, Parliament. The rest vanishes like breath in air. He disappears quickly, swallowed by shadow. At another corner, a thief lurks, his outline barely visible. You feel his eyes on you, sharp in the gloom. Yet before he steps closer, shouts rise from the next street. He melts away, swallowed by the fog. Crime thrives in this weather. Police curse it, magistrates lament it. But the mist is no one's to command. As the morning lengthens, the fog does not lift. Instead, it thickens, seeping into every pore, every cloth. Your hair is damp, your scarf heavy with moisture. The blanket smell of coal grows stronger, clinging to tongue and teeth. You cough, breath tearing at lungs already raw. Around you, others do the same, their hacking coughs blending with the city's rhythm. The streets narrow, twist, open again. Each corner is unfamiliar, each doorway hidden. You know these routes by heart, yet the fog makes strangers of them. You glance upward, but even the chimneys are swallowed. The city feels endless, without edge, without sky, only mist, only shadow, only sound. At last you turn toward home. The basket at your side is empty, no food bought, no coins spent. Hunger waits as it always does. But as you walk, the fog shifts. Lamplight glows brighter. Shape sharpens slightly. You glimpse your own doorway at last, its wood swollen with damp, its step worn smooth by countless boots. Relief softens your chest. You push the door open and step inside. The room is dim, the fire nearly out. But it is home. Family gathers close, shawls wrapped, bodies pressed together. The baby coughs. Your sister hums softly. Your mother stirs the last of the broth. The fog presses against the windows, but within these walls, warmth flickers faintly. You sit, boots heavy, shoulders aching, scarf damp. The world outside fades slowly, swallowed by mist. Inside the candle glows, its flame fragile yet steady. You watch it, eyes heavy, the fog drifting in your mind like a dream. Soon you will lie again beneath the cracked window, breath mingling with the city's, dreams shaped by coughs and bells and laughter fading into fog. The streets blur, the day dissolves, and you close your eyes, carried into another night. The fog will still be there tomorrow, It will cling to hair, to lungs, to memory, but for now it fades in your mind, replaced by the warmth of the blanket, the soft sound of family breathing, the fragile promise of sleep. The world behind your eyes grows softer now. The roar of looms, the shouts of hawkers, the coughs that rattle through the night, all of them begin to dissolve, fading like mist touched by morning sun. The city drifts away. Its chimneys shrink to shadows, its cobbles blur, its fog thins until only silence remains. You are safe now. The cracked window is closed. The draught gone. The blanket is heavy and warm, its weight pressing gently against your body. Your breath steadies, long and slow, the ache in your chest loosening with each exhale. The air around you is clear, sweet, free from soot and smoke. You inhale deeply, and for once the air brings only comfort. Voices that once pressed close, neighbors, preachers, overseers, children, become distant echoes. They soften until they are no more than memory, a faint hum beyond reach. Your body no longer bends beneath their demands. Your hands no longer sting from soap, no longer tremble from thread pulled too tight. You are still, unburdened, weightless. A warmth spreads through you, slow and steady, flowing like light through water. It fills your chest, your arms, your legs. The tiredness that once clawed at you now softens into calm, heavy but sweet. Your mind drifts, floating as if rocked gently by invisible hands. You are safe now. The streets fade behind you. The fog dissolves. The mills fall silent. The world you walk through, the hunger, the soot, the shadows, no longer follows you. You step beyond it, into stillness, into quiet. Breathe in, breathe out. Nothing presses against you now. Nothing demands. Only rest remains. You are safe. You are warm. The world fades to nothing but softness. Sweet dreams.